Now on Grenada, later than advertised, the news from ITN.
From the studios of ITN, the news with Dennis Toohey.
Good evening. Tonight's main story. Opponents of divorce may challenge Ireland's yes result. Anti-divorce campaigners in Ireland are considering a legal challenge to the referendum which ended the country's ban on divorce. The Irish chose change by a margin of just 0.6%. Many are now worried about the deep national divisions the vote revealed. Joan Irvine reports from Dublin.
The Catholic Church advised people to vote against divorce. Even the Pope issued a statement suggesting they should say no. His intervention angered the government here, which is delighted by the yes vote. With a majority of just over 0.5%, the Irish people have overturned the constitutional ban on divorce. At this Dublin cathedral, the worshippers, like the country, appeared evenly divided on the issue.
I think the rest of the world can see now we're actually moving into the 21st century. Never mind the 20th century, we're actually moving with the rest of the world now. I think it's a good thing for Ireland.
The death do us part, so I don't see how people can, or governments can change. You know, why not leave it to the man above?
There is a potential legal threat to this referendum. The government unlawfully funded the Yes campaign. The anti-divorce lobby could use that Supreme Court finding to challenge the result.
You have to bear in mind that I think that the courts will be very, very reluctant to question the will of the people as expressed in a referendum.
The government does not fear a legal challenge. It has legislation ready to put in place to allow divorce for couples separated at least 4 years. John Irvine, ITN, Dublin.
The Irish Prime Minister John Bruton moved tonight to try to restart the stalled Northern Ireland peace process. He sent John Major fresh proposals on the initiative. Mr Bruton's letter is thought to suggest a compromise on the issue which has deadlocked the process. Britain's insistence the IRA gives up its arms before all-party talks can begin. The budget is just 2 days away and the debate is now focusing on how the Chancellor will pay for any tax cuts. John Draper has been looking at the options.
Everyone now expects the Chancellor to cut income tax, but where will the money come from? Cutting the tax deducted from wages by 1 or 2 pence in the pound will, according to The Observer, be paid for by a windfall tax on the privatised utilities. Labour first suggested that, now some think the Tories will steal the idea. But a report that council tax will rise in the future to pay for this week's cuts has been seized on by Labour.
People will be paying more money despite anything they get in income tax cuts. And this is now typical of the Conservatives, that they give with one hand, but they take with another.
Claims that people would pay less income tax and VAT under Labour are dismissed by the Tories.
The instincts of the Labour Party have always been to spend more money, and that has got to be provided by the taxpayers. And no Labour government has ever reduced tax.
The Liberal Democrats say Mr Clark's tax cutting will be all about boosting Tory election prospects. One virtual certainty is that alcohol duty will rise, though this weekend the Chancellor at a constituency bazaar was saying little. Tuesday's budget will affect the pockets of everybody in the country, but Mr Clark also knows that with the Tories trailing badly in the polls, his budget could decide whether the Conservatives win or lose the next election. John Draper, ITN, Westminster.
Postal workers in Scotland are returning to work about now after voting overwhelmingly to end their unofficial dispute. More than 5,000 striking workers have accepted the peace formula put forward by management. Deliveries begin again in the morning, but it'll take a week of overtime to clear the backlog of 12 million items of mail. The Bosnian Serb leader Radovan Karadzic warned today that Sarajevo could become the Beirut of Europe, following the US-brokered peace deal. The agreement gives the Croat Muslim Alliance overall control of the city. Dr. Karadzic claims Sarajevo's Serbian community will need international protection for at least 5 years.
They have created Beirut in Europe, and it's going to bleed for decades. If they have transformed Sarajevo into 2 cities, 2 neighboring cities, then it would not be a divided city. But now, this is completely wrong solution, and I doubt it can be implemented.
The Princess of Wales is on her way home tonight after her high-profile visit to Argentina. She faces an uncertain future and discussions about her role after her television interview last week. Our correspondent Bill Neely reports from Argentina.
It was a fitting end, the princess escorted by an Argentine officer who'd fought in the Falklands War. The end of a 4-day visit. It was billed as private and unofficial. It was anything but. She's heading now for talks with Buckingham Palace about her role and her marriage. Her press advisor, whose advice she didn't seek this month, is heading for the palace too, but not to work for her anymore. The princess has attracted intense interest here, the scramble reaching the home of Argentina's president. For him and for her, the visit was a boost.
I think it has been very successful for her. Nevertheless, I think that Argentine government is going to use it.
She came saying she wants to be a Queen of Hearts and a roving ambassador. One Argentine newspaper today said this was not the most sensible place to start. Memories of a bitter war are still fresh, and the princess stirred them. No more than a few hundred Argentines saw her every day, and some of those paid for the privilege. But the princess is ending one of her most high-profile trips with her image in Britain at least enhanced, in the polls and on the front pages. Argentina now settles down to life without the princess. She settles in for talks with the palace about life after marriage. Bill Neely, ITN, Buenos Aires.
Aberdeen have won the Scottish Coca-Cola Cup, beating Dundee at Hampden Park. Billy Dodds set up Aberdeen's triumph with his 8th goal of the season. And Duncan Shearer settled the match, scoring just after half-time to make it 2-0. That's the news tonight from the weekend team here at ITN. Good night.
Hello, good evening. Well, things certainly remain unsettled on the weather front over the next few days, with quite a few showers, but also some sunshine and brighter weather in between, so all's not lost. In fact, we can see the culprit here, the low pressure anchored way down to the southwest. That's very much in charge, and if we run our wind flow sequence through, we see up until Tuesday that low pressure is still in charge, and so translating into fairly unsettled weather. Back to tonight, we've still got a fair few showers around, but then clearing skies and dipping temperatures later on, leading to touches of frost and icy roads in the very far northwest. Elsewhere, no temperature problems at all, especially so with these freshening winds. So as we go into tomorrow morning, we've still got those showers, in particular for the very far northeast, as well as the western side of the country, heavy and thundery down in the southwest of England. But there are certainly brighter slots as well. Now we see these on the eastern fringes, as well as the northwest of Scotland. Then during the course of the day, well, a fair few showers crop up virtually all over the place. With all this weather activity, temperatures are still looking mild, 8s or 9s in the north, a high of 11 or 52 in the south. Good night.
Sponsored by PowerGen, electricity for homes and industry, whatever the weather.
The story is a famous one.
Tomorrow on GMTV, an interview that reveals the darker side of Cliff Richard.
Well, it's Christmas time.
And how to get through Christmas without spending a fortune. A GMTV special tomorrow.